PSA graded Pokemon card prices are going to crash, guys. There is an avalanche of returns heading their way back to us. They're going to be flooded all over eBay and Facebook Marketplace, and it's going to cause the market to crash. But I think it's actually only really going to affect 3 areas, and I'm going to elaborate on those areas in this video and kind of what's going on with PSA right now. So let's do it. Hey guys, my name is Mattculli and welcome to the channel. So we're going to have a little Pokemon TCG talk, and we're actually going to focus on PSA slabs and the price, the crash that is on its way, guys, that's going to be brought around by the absolute avalanche of slabs that are going to be heading their way back to us and onto eBays and stores and all sorts of stuff, which is going to cause the prices to crash because they're going to be far too much of it out there. But I want to elaborate on it because when I say crash, it's quite a sweeping statement. It's actually going to focus on like 2 to 3 like sets almost, or like eras, and I want to kind of explain why it's going to be those eras. But before I get into explaining more about that, I thought we'd talk quickly about the state of PSA at the moment, because for those of you who don't know, they've closed their doors to submissions, and there's a few numbers I want to get out there that are going to help highlight the points I'm going to make later on when we talk about the set. So let's talk about PSA first of all, and then closing their doors. So you can't submit to them unless you pay for like the most expensive service, which is hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So you're only going to submit cards to them now if you're submitting a first edition base set Shadowless Charizard. Other than that, it's completely pointless. So essentially, I reckon they've said that 98.7% of submissions have now stopped since they've made these suspensions on services. They currently have 12 million cards in backlog that haven't even been graded yet, guys. And I want to make this clear as well. When we talk about this, we always focus on Pokemon. Remember that PSA grade like everything. You know, they grade Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, sports cards, and all of those have grown in popularity along with Pokemon. So this is absolutely nuts, like the submissions they're receiving, guys. They are taking 3 months to open any boxes that are sent to them. So you could send your submission to them on the lowest level service. 3 months later, they'll open it and put your cards in their system. You know, that's why more and more people start paying for the higher levels of service, because actually their value was there to do it. So you could pretty much grade any card and make the money back for the grading. So more and more people started to use the higher end levels of services, which kept pushing the lower end stuff back. And obviously they need to clear this backlog. What could they do? They had a choice of keep up in their prices or shut their door. They've shut their doors. I, for one, think it's a good thing, because at the end of the day, they're not offering a premium service anymore. This is a premium company that no one had a divine right to grade their Pokemon cards. And actually 2019, it was pointless grading most of your cards, because unless you got a 10, you wouldn't make the money back for cost of grading. It's a completely different story come 2020. Pretty much any card is worth grading regardless of the grade, and you're going to make your money back if some. So everyone's started grading, blah blah, and more come through. People are now taking a year to get some of their stuff back on the lower end service. Even the higher end services are taking longer and longer. They're no longer offering that premium service, and on top of that, the more cards they're grading, they're starting to see more discrepancies come through on the market. So like, you know, people are putting pictures up of their 10s they're selling, and when you actually look at the card and you see a rolled corner or the centering massive off, you're like, how's that actually a 10? Now, I don't want to like sound like I'm bashing on PSA for it, because they're not the only ones that are being absolutely sort of CGC's like turnaround time has gone from 30 days on economy like 3 months ago to 144 days. That's 144 working days, guys. So like that's crazy like growth on CGC's behalf as well. And I think that's why, you know, like companies like PSA have tried to do this to protect their brand by actually closing their doors, because they don't want to make mistakes, because the more and more mistakes they've got, the less value their product is becoming, because you can't trust the grade. So they've had to close their doors to stop discrepancies, focus on really drilling and training those new members of staff, really training the grader, because you've got to think it's going to take quite a long time to grade to be an expert in grading. So PSA are trying to protect themselves and protect the market, because if, you know, they let it keep going as it was, and all these cards kept going and going, and no one's going to be able to sell anything, because there's going to be no customers out there to buy it. So they've had to do it. Personally, and we're going to talk about it soon, they've done it too late. There's, you know, the fact there's 12 million cards out there, okay, not all Pokemon, but, you know, how many of those cards are actually going to be put on the market to sell? I don't know. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But, you know, I think PSA had to do it. They're trying to protect themselves. They're trying to protect the market. and they're trying to once again offer a premium service. I actually foresee other companies like your CGCs and stuff like that maybe even closing their doors at some point to protect themselves once again as well, to make sure they can get through and deal with the customers they already have. So yeah, there's a bit of background about what's going on with PSA at the minute. And maybe just before we're going to get into talking about the slab prices dropping, but it's probably worth giving like a background into the sheer growth of like Pokemon over 2020. So obviously lockdown kicked in. People started cleaning, doing, I don't know, spring cleaning, shall we say. They got in their lofts, and all of a sudden you're finding your old Pokemon cards, and it piqued your interest once again, and you got some money, you're not spending it on going out. Oh, maybe I've never completed that set. Let's start doing it. Let's start getting on eBay. Cards start getting sapped up on eBay. People start seeing money going through, so people start upping their stuff on their prices. It keeps going up as the popularity goes, and Pokemon started to grow during the early parts of 2020 to like unprecedented numbers. Then comes along Logan Paul, does his box break, and love him or hate him, the guy had a massive impact on Pokemon. He brought so many new eyes to the hobby that maybe didn't even collect first time round, who all of a sudden are hearing these big numbers and think, man, this is something to invest in, and it's had a effect on the market. Personally, the fact that it's driven up prices of older cards and singles and stuff, I don't really have a problem with that at all. I think that's great, especially for people. It's turned some people who maybe still were living at home still to being able to buy a house now. Like, man, that's great, like that's good. If it's taking money out of rich people's pockets and helping build other people's like futures and stuff, I'm all for that, guys. Scalping's another story. I absolutely hate that. But anyway, Logan Paul brought all these new people to it, lots of new eyes, which increased the popularity. A lot of them then started to look into grading, realizing if you grade a card, you can make even more money in it, blah, blah, blah. Grading got really, really popular, and we hit like a peak in October of just sheer numbers. Graded Gem, for example, said they were receiving 5,000 cards a day. That's crazy for a middleman service, and you got everyone else, blah, blah, blah. It just kept going and going and going. But what you found, and this is where I really get into the crux of where I think the slabs and the market is going to crash, is that a lot of these people that came into collecting in 2020, what was around for them to buy at the time that was new, once they'd gone and bought all their base set stuff and the price got to a point where it's too expensive to buy anymore, they looked at evolutions, because that was very readily available. It was in like every single box on the shelf, every single tin. You could still pick up booster boxes for 120 quid. There was an absolute ton of it out there, so everyone got into getting into buying that. Then they also got into buying whatever the latest sets were, which was Sword and Shield was around, guys. So everyone did that. What did they all do then after that? Everyone starts grading those exact things. So they start grading their base set, they start grading their evolutions, and they start grading their Sword and Shield. And those areas there are where I think prices are going to crash. If you've been clever out there and you've looked out there and gone, hang on, everyone's doing that. What other sets are there? There's EX Era, there's Diamond and Pearl, Diamond and Pearl games are coming out late this year. Those sets, they're going to increase in popularity along with the games coming out. Platinum Arceus as well, the Platinum sets, they're going to increase. People who have been investing in that and Gold Stars, they're on to winners. This is extremely collectible stuff. EX Era nearly never happened, guys. Pokemon nearly shut their doors to TCG for the EX Era stuff. The popularity was so low, the print runs were so low. That stuff is super rare, and that stuff is still slept on. The values of that is just going to climb as people realize how much better it is than like evolutions, like seriously. But anyway, everyone was buying and collecting safe stuff, and then all of a sudden everyone is now grading exactly the same stuff. Because everyone's grading the stuff and grading all the same stuff, so many of those people are also looking to sell it. Like, it's really hard to determine the numbers of what the percentages are. If 1,000 people send stuff, 1,000 cards are sent into grade, how many of those 1,000 are going up for sale? I gotta think that it's a very high number, and I think it's probably weighted more in the selling than it is keeping. I feel like people will submit 10 cards, 2 will be to keep, the other 8 are to sell, to basically pay for how much it costs them to buy the 2 they're keeping. And you often find that everyone that's buying cards, all the cards that are being graded to sell, are more than likely all the same stuff. It's your evolutions, your base set, where everyone is, the popularity is right now, everyone's grading all that. Well, the fact is, if everyone is grading the same stuff, who are you looking to sell them to? Because everyone's already got them, So if you can't do that, what you can do? Well, you're going to have to go low. But then hang on, if I'm sticking mine on eBay and there is the same card in a 9 or in a 10, and there's 100 of the same card on eBay in the same slab, in the same grade, how's mine going to stand out from the rest? I have to go cheaper, and people will start just undercutting each other. don't get me wrong, this is going to be a great time to buy slabs on those particular sets, because there's going to be a ton. There is going to be a ton of it on eBay, guys, and the price is going to be super, super cheap. So, you know, if you're smart, you'll be saving your money now to snap up those slabs, because then you can just sit on it in a cupboard and then just drip feed the odd through and just get them out when the market's like lower and there's not much out there. You can start selling those ones off when you're ready to sell them. And control the market, where you won't be able to. There'll be far too many, but you can maybe make a bit of profit on them. But that's what I think a lot of people are doing. A lot of people will be selling up and maybe moving on to other stuff. I do think a lot of people will be here to stay, like myself. I started before the hype and I'll be here long after. I run a website selling cards and slabs and stuff. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting time, because I can't see. I think evolution prices are going to crash. Sword and Shield prices are going to crash. Base set prices are going to crash. I just struggle to see where people are gonna sell those cards to, and I think it's a really good way to really sort of nail home the point I'm making. And we're gonna jump on the screen quick. If you go to this website, guys, so this is a site called PokemonPrices.com, and they pull data through from PSA and the pop reports, and they kind of display them in a different way. They're not as accurate as the PSA pop report, but I think they have a graph here that gives you a really good visual representation. So we're going to take one of the sets I talked about, and we're going to take evolutions, right? When you go on this set, you can see the last solds and stuff, which never really quite match up on here, if I'm honest, guys. And then we're going to go and look at the Charizard, probably one of the most graded cards right now out of all of them. And you've got to think how many people are grading this card to keep it and how many are grading it to sell it. A ton of people are going to be grading it to sell it, because the Charizard, I think, are going to make a ton of money. This is the pop report right now. This is how many have already been graded. The thing to bear in mind, guys, this was pre-peak. This is like people's cards that have come back who graded early 2019 before it really peaked. Bear in mind, peak time was October. These are maybe people's cards they got back from, I don't know, maybe let's say up to June, because obviously there's such a big backlog. You got to think that it only climbed from there. Submissions only kept going, and submissions of this card only kept going as well, to a point where, like, you see look at this graph. You know, these cards here, this number here is probably cards submitted, like I say, from June. What is this going to look like when cards are back from October? It could be up here, like crazy. Who's going to buy it all? Where's the customer base that actually buy those? Don't get me wrong, people will start stepping up, but you're not going to make a lot of money off them. Like, I really don't think that this set is just you're going to struggle to make money off evolutions. Now, a lot of you are probably going, oh wait, but look, PSA 10's really low. You're right. If this number keeps growing, and this number keeps growing, and this number keeps growing, and this one stays the same, these are going to be worth a fortune, because they're super, super hard to come by and they're super rare. I think that this card pop report, by end of this year, this could be 100,000 cards in the slab of this particular card. I generally think it could be that high. And if that number stays in the hundreds, then yes, 10s will still be worth a fortune. But the amount now that are coming out of a pack into a sleeve and straight off, you got to think the chances of getting 10s in this is going to be very, very high, actually. And this number will grow quite substantially. This is going to probably obviously be the highest number. I think 9s is going to be absolutely crazy. But this is just going to keep going and going and going. You know, the only way to get value in these modern sets is if they're hard to get 10s in. And if this stays hard to get a 10, there's still value be there. But we've got to think, it's probably not. It's probably going to be a lot of 10s, guys. And I think this graph really represents how the peak is going to go. So if we come and check this again in 5 months' time, it's going to be so interesting to see these pop numbers on the 9s and the 8s and even the 10, which at the moment is obviously right down here. But it'll be interesting to see when that 10's up here somewhere. It's going to be interesting. And that is why I think, guys, the PSA prices on this set, base set, Sword and Shield is going to plummet, because there's just going to be too much of it out there, all in exactly the same grades. Now, I would love to know your thoughts on this, guys, whether you agree with me, you disagree with me, whether I've made absolutely any sense. I'd love to know your thoughts. Obviously, I'd like to know what you really thought of this video as well. Do you want to see me do like more points? I have a few more points of stuff. It was just, I kind of got a lot in this. It wasn't just about the price crash. I wanted to talk about a lot of stuff, and I think I maybe elaborate too much. I apologize if I spoke too long, but I hope you did enjoy it, guys. And if you did, do give it a big thumbs up. Really appreciate it. And do make sure to subscribe and come and get involved in all the pack openings and card reviews and box breaks and live streams and charity events and all the other things we do here on the channel, guys. Do make sure to hit that subscribe button and come and join the journey here on the channel. Good luck with, you know, buying your cards and collecting and even selling your slabs, guys. I hope it does all go very well for you, and I hope what I say maybe doesn't come to a fruition. Unfortunately, I think it will do, guys. Other than that, good luck with all your collecting, guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.